What's up guys, Tony Bonvecchio at the Strength House. Today I'm going to talk about the real reason why your back rounds while you're deadlifting. So most people assume that their back rounds during the deadlift because their back's not strong enough, and that's actually rarely the case. Research shows us that elite powerlifters and novice lifters actually have pretty similar isometric lower back strength, so the ability to keep their back in one position under a fixed load, and that it's actually strength in other muscle groups that make the biggest difference. So besides that, your back is probably going to round during the deadlift because your chosen setup position is not the best for you, and or the muscles that move the bar are weak in the position that you're choosing. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So most people know what a good deadlift setup position looks like. So we'll talk about conventional first, I'll show you sumo after. So they're setting up and they're in a good position, their back is flat, their hips are in the correct spot, but what you'll often see is that as they start the lift, the back will start to round. So what that's telling us there is that even though you're in a good setup position, the muscles that extend your hips and extend your knees are not strong enough in that position, so your body's choosing to move to a more mechanically advantageous position. And what that means in plain English is that if I set up in a good position, my glutes, my hamstrings, and my quads are all going to work together to move the bar. But if any of those muscle groups are not strong enough in a good starting position, your body's going to default to a position that it thinks is more advantageous and puts your stronger muscle groups in charge. And for most people, that's usually your lower back muscles, your spinal erectors. So I'm in a good starting position here. I start to lift the bar. My body says, oh no, I'm not strong enough in that position. Let's put our stronger lower back muscles in a better position so they can move the bar. So our body's pretty smart, and it reorganizes in the way that it thinks is the most efficient way to move the bar. So a simple way to fix that is to either change your setup position slightly or to strengthen those muscles so you can move the bar in what would be considered a good starting position. So let's talk about starting position first. So a lot of times you'll see people start with their hips a little bit too low. So they'll try to really sit into it, get their chest up by sitting their butt down. And what they'll see there, you have very, very limited hamstring tension, and your butt has gotten too low to start the lift correctly. So what will happen is your hips will just shoot up anyways, and that'll lead to back rounding. So what you can simply do there is start with your hips higher. Don't feel like you gotta sit your butt down so low to start the deadlift. Trust yourself to start your hips higher and get your chest up by using the bar itself to leverage against. And what that'll look like is this. So if my chosen deadlift setup position is like this with really low hips, maybe I want to just keep my hips a little bit higher. And what I'll often cue people to do is as soon as your hands hit the bar, don't sit any lower. So as soon as my hands hit the bar, I'm probably in a good position here, but I need to get my chest up a bit more. So I'm going to tug on the bar with my lats and kind of wedge myself into the bar. What you can see is as I start to do that, that bar will start to float off the ground a little bit because I'm really leveraging against it. So by starting with my hips higher, I'm in a better position to use my glutes and hamstrings to extend my hips, so I'm not going to run into the hips shooting up and back rounding that you might see. This is much more common in the sumo deadlift than in the conventional deadlift. Conventional, you can kind of get away with the hips popping up early. Sumo pretty much can't get away with that at all. So I'll show you what sumo looks like here. So sumo, pretty much if your back rounds at all, you're in big, big, big trouble. You have to keep the hips and the shoulders rising at the same time. So with sumo, if you sit really low like so, and then you have this happen at the start, what your body is saying is, hey, our hips are too far from the bar at the start because you've sat your butt down too low. We want to get our hips higher and closer to the bar, and the way that your body reorganizes itself is by rounding your lower back underneath. So it looks like this. My hips are actually very far away from the bar this way, so as they start to come up, they're going to curl under and get closer to the bar. Simple solution for this, just start with your hips a lot higher. Again, think about as soon as your hands can hit the bar, try not to sit your butt any lower and try to get your chest up by extending your back and keeping your knees out. So if I do that kind of top-down approach where I push my knees out, grab the bar, my hips should get no lower than this. I should be extending my back to get my chest up. And now I have sufficient hamstring tension to be able to break the bar off the floor without my back rounding. Now, That's addressing the starting position. What about strength in the given muscle groups? So glutes, hamstrings, quads, the muscles that all work together to get the hips and shoulders to rise together. Now, if those muscles simply aren't strong enough to move the bar in your chosen starting position, the weight on the bar might just be too heavy, so work at lighter weights. If you feel like you really do need to build up the strength in those muscle groups, choose an exercise that's very close to the deadlift that's gonna build those up. In the case of glutes and hamstrings, it might be RDLs, it might be good mornings, something that directly targets those muscle groups that's very, very close to the actual deadlift. As far as quads, that might be doing front squats, that might be doing lunges or split squats, something again that's not too far removed from the squat or the deadlift. And once you spend some time to build those muscle groups up, hopefully they'll be bigger and stronger so that they can move the bar in a good starting position. So if you're having a hard time with your back rounding during the deadlift, don't think that you need to strengthen your lower back. Check on your starting position and then strengthen the muscle groups that move the bar in that good starting position so you can get your deadlift moving off the ground without your lower back rounding.